Senator Marco Rubio joins us now. Senator, Anthony Blinken had a tough time with certain Republican senators yesterday defending his policies, and from protesters who thinks we should not be helping Israel at all. Where do you stand?
Well, first of all, these protesters is the same group, this pink communist group, whatever, Code Pink. Nothing happens to these people. They habitually and consistently disrupt congressional proceedings. I thought that was a crime, according to prosecutors. Nothing happens to them. They're arrested, they're put out on bail, they're fined, they're let go, and they're back out here the next day doing the exact same thing. So, one day something really bad is going to happen. As far as where I stand on it, it's very simple. Israel has to destroy Hamas. Hamas has basically defined victory as survival. The fact that they are still in place and can hold press conferences and put out statements, that is victory for Hamas. They're playing a long game here, and Hamas thinks they have the upper hand. They watch our internal politics. They see the wavering support to Israel that the United States has under Biden. They see countries now in Europe recognizing a Palestinian state, which is a joke. I mean, I don't know what state they're talking about. And it's a state that's never existed, by the way. And I think they feel like they have the advantage here. But this is a group that wants to destroy Israel. Hamas exists to destroy the Jewish state of Israel. What are you supposed to do with an existential threat? You have to degrade it or eliminate it. You cannot allow it to continue to survive.
So he said he's been there 7 times, and he also said that we have given more weapons and our alliance is ironclad, our loyalty to Israel. But they're holding him back from Rafah. He's become General Anthony Blinken with no military experience. How valuable would it be for them to go forward, as bloody as it could end up being? We already found 3 hostage bodies by going in. Maybe we could find some alive, or they could find some alive by going in now.
Yeah, so if you're Hamas, you're sitting there and you see all of this, and how do you feel? You feel like the United States has conditioned what Israel can do against them. You view that as a victory. That improves not just morale among your terrorist savages, but even internally among the world. It gives you the ability to believe that you can hold out longer, to play harder ball in negotiations, to increase what the conditions would be for any ceasefire, the end of hostilities. So in addition to hurting Israel tactically, it is encouraging Hamas. That, in combination with the protests and riots on our campuses, are the kinds of things that Hamas sees and says, we are winning the PR war, we are winning the war on influencing American foreign policy. Israel has less leverage. We need to hold out longer. We may not even need to surrender.
I know you've always talked about the border, and now Chuck Schumer's going to reintroduce what he calls a bipartisan legislation on the border and try to get 60 votes on it. You're focused on and wrote an editorial about the terror watch list on both borders. You had 98 in 2022 on terror watch list, now 172 in last year, and already 81 this year. And these are the peoples we have treaties with and exchange information with. Right. You see a pattern here.
Yeah, first of all, illegal immigration is entirely incentive and perception based. If they think they can get here and will be allowed to stay, they're going to come. If they don't, they won't. They're coming because they believe they will be able to get here easier and they can stay. Nothing in this bill that Chuck Schumer wants us to vote on would change that. In fact, it would create this asylum corps that could award asylum right on the border. So we're going to have a bunch of people on a pathway to citizenship almost immediately. As far as the terrorists are concerned, they're coming from parts of the world that we have no data on. So if you're Joe Terrorist and you come to the border, we may not know you're a terrorist because we don't have any data on you. Maybe you've never committed a terrorist act, but you're linked to terrorist groups. And we're not talking about tens or dozens of people. We're talking about potentially thousands of people who are coming from parts of the world where we know ISIS is recruiting, and they're sending people into America. And if just a small percentage of those are terrorists, we're going to have a terrible situation here in our country, unfortunately. And it happened because of Joe Biden's open border. He opened the door to America for ISIS and all these other criminal and terrorist element groups, and it's put our country in grave danger. This is the most dangerous internal domestic terrorist threat situation we have had in well over a decade.
Real quick, in 20 seconds, he says he has a sudden interest in the border. So does the administration. Mayorkas was telling that to Neil Cavuto yesterday. Why?
Well, because I think they see the polling, and I also think they are worried about a terrorist attack before November. They know they'll be blamed for it. Listen, it's very simple. If someone who crossed the U.S. border illegally over the last 3 years commits a terrorist act in America, Joe Biden will be blamed for it, rightfully so. He's responsible for it, and they are afraid of that, and they want to be able to say, we tried to do something, but it's too late almost.